Hi, everybody. My name is Sherry Daniel. I am the Principal Solution Architect for the Compliance Practice here at Skillsoft. And today joining me are Shannon Wenger and Devin Dixon of Apex Systems. And they're going to talk today a little bit about their program, as well as actually how some of Skillsoft's offerings and solutions were able to help them and make their program successful. So Shannon, Devin, thank you for joining us. Can you just quick introduction, tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Sure, yeah, so Shannon Wenger with Apex, as Sherry said, I'm our Associate Director of Training, and so with that, responsible for all of our internal training programs, and as well as our consultant training and compliance is a big piece of that, of course.
Hey everyone, my name is Devin Dixon. I'm the compliance training specialist. So basically what I do is I assist Shannon when it comes to helping CEs and clients abide by state and law regulations when it comes down to their training. So really making sure that they're getting the access to the training, setting them up with this, setting them up with licenses and anything else that they may need on the back end.
Great. Thank you, Shannon and Devin. Thank you for joining us today and participating in this conversation. Can you tell us a little bit about Apex Systems, about your business, maybe a little bit about how you're structured, the locations that you operate in, just so that we can get a sense for really the magnitude of the program?
Sure, yeah. So historically, Apex was just an IT staffing firm, and I would say in the last 5 years or so, we've evolved into more of an IT services firm. So we help our clients with custom solutions that range from digital innovation to helping them with enterprise IT solutions. We help with workforce mobilization, which could include things like typical IT staffing or talent management. So we can really come in and help a client do, the full life cycle of an IT project, staffing it and then managing it through the end of the project. We are in 70 plus locations right now, mostly in the United States, a couple of offices in Canada, and we have one small delivery center in Mexico. We are supporting all types of industries, so we span everything from government services to financial services, healthcare, life sciences, engineering, pretty much any industry our client is in, we have expertise across the board. And
great.
Sorry, I was going to say, just to comment on, like you said, the magnitude. In 2020, we placed close to 40,000 consultants. So that's just gives you some, a number of the amount of consultants in a year. That was pretty tough, with COVID as well. And internal, we have about 3,000 internal employees.
Wow. So Shannon, that actually takes me to my next question, which is, tell us a little bit about your current compliance program. So it sounds like you're not just training your employees, you are training people that you're placing in projects as well. So maybe tell us a little bit about who exactly you're training, maybe what types of content you're training. So are we talking legal or safety, or actually a combination of both? And maybe the frequency upon which you're doing this. So is it annually for employees? Is it just upon hire for contractors and people that you're putting into projects or onto client sites? So can you give us a little bit of background on that?
Sure. So I would say the quick answer is all of the above that you just mentioned, but breaking that down a little bit more, for our internal population, it is mostly being done at onboarding, and it is going to include the legal piece, so the harassment training. We have typical IT security policies that you would see, and then some company-specific policies. And then we also do annual refresher training for our internal employees. On the consultant side, we have really a combination depending on either where they live and what legal requirements are in that location, or it could be based on their job title and function. So we have the state mandated harassment training, of course. We have a lot of OSHA and safety training that we use for our life sciences and engineering employees. And then we do have some custom client programs. So we may have, some folks that are working in healthcare and need to, provide HIPAA training in that instance, or we may have somebody that's in a government role that's, handling really sensitive information, and they want to give more intense IT security or privacy training. So we will work with our clients to customize what that compliance package or program might look like for their team.
And are you actually customizing training for those teams? Are you taking library content and modifying it accordingly? And it must be a huge undertaking to kind of manage all of that.
Yeah, so sometimes I guess when I say customize, it could mean more of like a customized package. So really just pulling the Skillsoft library content together, and it's unique for each client in that way, but it's just off the shelf. And then in other instances, yes, we may need to put in like a custom client policy acknowledgement at the end of the course, or they may even give us, a couple of slides to upload alongside one of the Skillsoft trainings. I would say we're not doing that as frequently. More so, we are able to pull some of the Skillsoft content as is and use that for our clients.
That's great. That's great. What are some of the challenges maybe in the last year with COVID and the shift to work from home for a lot of organizations and probably your own employees? What were some of the challenges that you guys faced and how did you overcome those?
Yeah, I would say, well, really just reflecting on the last year of compliance, we were wrapping up some of the state harassment rollout. So for anyone that's familiar, the states kind of had different rolling deadlines. We were wrapping up California last year, which was a huge undertaking. I think we had 3,000 or 4,000 contractors we had to go back and capture to get through that harassment training. And then with COVID, you're exactly right. As people shifted to work from home, we had this unique challenge of now, where are they living? Where are they working? Is the harassment training required in both? Does it need to be where the company they support if they're now working from home? So there were some changes there. And then COVID, so a lot just really keeping our eye on in partnership with our account rep through Skillsoft, what the COVID requirements were. Some of them were temporary at the time, but those have evolved and still evolving today. And being able to map certain Skillsoft training courses that would fulfill some of those return to work requirements in each state, and customize that with some of our own site-specific information or company-specific policies. So that's ongoing. I would say our COVID training strategy, quote unquote, is a work in progress, and we'll actually be rolling that out, at the beginning of July as we prepare to go back into the office.
Great. Shannon, you gave me a really good segue when you started talking about customizing content. Can you tell us a little bit about how you do those customizations, maybe how you used to do them, and maybe how one of our newer products, content configuration, has really helped you and hopefully taken away some of the pain of the old ways that you were doing that?
Yeah, definitely. So this is probably one of the most exciting tools that came out for us. I know we were really excited about it. We previously would purchase or license content from Skillsoft, just individual courses. As a need popped up, we would reach out, get access to the course content, and we would use a different content configuration tool called Skill Studio. It was much more technical. It required hours of training, for us to learn how to use the tool. And then it was something we just didn't use on a regular basis. It might be once or twice a year, we'd have a new policy or something we needed to customize. And it was literally, dusting off a massive binder of screenshot instructions, off the bookshelf, and hours of going through trying to figure out how do we do this again. Usually we didn't do it right. And it was, 10 calls to Skillsoft technical support. They are amazing. Became friends with many of them because there were so many calls, out to the technical support team. So it was just a really lengthy, kind of painful process, to be honest. We would dread a policy change on our side or something that we had to go in and customize, and it would typically take us several weeks. So it wasn't a quick turnaround time if something came up as far as a change or a new requirement. So now with the content configuration tool that we use through Percipio compliance, it's very user friendly. I don't think Devin or I have had any formal training on it. We were able to jump in, figure it out on our own within a couple of clicks. We can put in, custom video at the beginning of the course if we want to introduce the training. We're able to upload our company specific policies in a PDF format, and then we create custom attestation questions at the end where people are acknowledging, various components of the policy. I think if I had to put a time on it and how long it took, maybe 5 to 10 minutes to customize
Wow.
a course. And then it's done and we can push it out to the learners. So we can respond now, I think, to a new requirement within, 24 hours, where it was probably weeks before.
That's fantastic. So what kind of impact is that having on time saving to you, to the program? It sounds like you can get training out quicker, but it also sounds like you're probably spending less time trying to keep all of the courses up to date.
Yeah, so I think one thing that was stressful was partially just keeping up with the ever-changing requirements. We don't have a legal background, Devin or I, and so that was always nerve-wracking to think, do we have the latest? Is this meeting the requirement? And so that, I think, was a really huge benefit to the partnership with Skillsoft, not only having access to, we have the entire compliance library, which is very helpful, but Skillsoft pushes those updates. So I can think back to when, New York had a change last year that will get automatically pushed to the current customized course that we have. And we don't have to go back in and reassign it to anyone. We don't have to re-customize it. We know that the content's updated. So I feel like we probably both sleep a little bit better at night knowing that. And then the second thing you touched on was the time saving. So it saved us a lot of time on the customization side, but just the overall, I would say, deployment of, a new requirement when that comes in.
Great. For people that may not be familiar with what content configuration is, content configuration is actually a tool that's available to any organization that's working with Skillsoft. So it's available for organizations like Apex that are working directly on Percipio compliance, but it's also available for organizations that are using a third-party LMS, because Percipio compliance is still the hosting point for that content. So it now allows any organization that's working with Skillsoft the ability to configure our content. And what that means is you're not actually changing the course. You get the benefit of using a library course. And Shannon, to your point, that means if a regulation changes or we need to make a change to the course, fix a graphic, change a test question, make some sort of change to the course, you're going to get those changes because you're no longer creating these one-off courses specific to your organization. But what you do have the ability to do is add that company-specific information into the course, whether it be a supplemental video, whether it's a video introduction from an executive, and the ability to put additional text-based or audio-based information into the course. Maybe it's how to ask a question or report an issue, or maybe it's hotline information, or maybe it's just information on the importance of taking this course and why you're asking people to do that. And then you do have the ability to add policies, as well as those attestation statements. And then at the end of the course, the ability to add that summary section into the course, which actually appears after the course content, but before the test. Shannon, one of the additional benefits, and you guys probably haven't gotten to the point of library maintenance yet, but if you have gone ahead and configured a course and we go ahead and we retire and replace that content, when we push that new course out, your configurations will remain intact, which means you don't have to know when we are changing out content. You don't necessarily need to go and then reconfigure all of those courses. Those configurations will remain in place. So it sounds like this has been really beneficial for you. Any other kind of benefits, even just from a Percipio compliance perspective, in terms of being able to automate assignments or anything along those lines?
Yeah, I mean, I would say when I reflect back to a couple of years ago to where we are now with our compliance program, the first step was moving over to Percipio compliance for us. We used Skillport before, but we didn't not having the full library of compliance training at the time. Everything was very disjointed for us. It was kind of reactive mode. A requirement comes up, we've got to upload a spreadsheet of people into the platform, purchase that individual course, customize it, assign it, and it would take weeks. Now we have a platform where we've created our audiences based on certain demographic information. So it could be the state in which they live or their job title. So everything is very automated, where they're automatically inheriting that assignment that they need based on that demographic information. So that has streamlined it for us, and there's less room for human error. I think when we look at audits in the past, we you know, we would miss things because there was just a lot of manual steps and it required a lot of human intervention. And now it's definitely more of an automated process for us. So that piece, I think getting that structure in place first was key. And then the icing on the cake was definitely the customization piece, because so many of the state specific laws now require some type of custom element where you're putting in that company specific information. You can't really get by with just using, you know, the off the shelf training. So being able to customize with a very user-friendly tool has been very helpful. And I would say because of all of that, we're being seen as more of a solution provider, you know, to our legal team, but also to our internal sales team. You know, our legal team now, they may have come to us in the past kind of scrambling, thinking that this would be a big undertaking, maybe freaking out a little bit. How are we going to roll something like this out? And they're always excited to know when we're able to say, here's the list of courses. Skillsoft has mapped it to fit these specific state requirements or COVID requirements or OSHA requirements. We can throw our APEX specific policy in there, and you know, we already have these audiences ready to push it out. And I know they have been very appreciative of that, and usually loop us in sooner now to come up with these deployment strategies as different requirements come out. And our sales team as well, you know, on the consultant side, they've been able to tell our clients, we can create these packages for you that will help mitigate risk depending on whatever role this consultant may be in. And I know our clients are always really excited for Apex to be able to take on some of that compliance component off of their plate, knowing that these consultants we bring in are educated with whatever that space is, whether again it's the IT security, safety training, et cetera. So it's really helped us be, I think, more of a solution provider.
It's nice to see that compliance has become more of a value add and not just to check the box that we have to do it. It's more, wow, you know, we're seeing the benefit of this, and clearly organizations that you're working with are seeing a benefit to that as well. So that's fantastic. Shannon, Devin, anything else you wanted to share?
I was just gonna just agree with what Shannon was saying, especially about the auditing part. I know in the past with Skillsport, whenever there was a time that someone will request information, it would take me maybe a few hours. But with Percipio, I can simply go in and like look at the information. And I think the longest it took me to find the information was 30 minutes in Percipio, if that. So I definitely enjoy just the capability of the audiences, making sure that even if, like for example, government regulations, if people have to meet that need, I know that they can have that, but also the state regulations, just by having the audiences, client projects, all that stuff, I know for sure with confidence that they have the training that they need.
That's great. That's great. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. We appreciate all of your insight and all the information that you've provided. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.